Alrighty, so I'll go ahead and get us started. Thank you for joining us, everybody. Thank you, Brandon, and thank you, Jeannie, for being here. Today, we'll be going over our campaign presentation that we ran for CSSA. My name is David Lee. I'm the Client Services Coordinator.
My name is Christian Lee, and I'm the Campaign Schedule Manager.
My name is Nicole Muller, and I'm the Campaign Book Manager.
My name is Juliana Erno-Pierce, and I was in charge of research.
My name is Connor Sabatasso, and I was also in charge of research.
I'm Gary Grover, and I'm our Media Content Manager.
Okay, so to start off our presentation, our client is the Cal State Student Association, or CSSA. They are a student-led organization of CSU students. They advocate for students in system-wide higher education policymaking, and they are funded through a $2 student involvement representation fee, or SIRF, that is assessed to each CSU student twice a year. From our original consultation back on February 11th with CSSA, we discussed some of their needs for the campaign that focuses on the $2 SIRF fee. Some of those included researching how campuses are communicating what the SIRF fee is and how to opt out of it, analyzing prior opt-out rates of each campus, identifying how each campus displays the SIRF fee information on their website, and discovering how to best promote SIRF and use the use of SIRF and CSSA benefits. Next slide, please. So our messages, since we didn't get to execute the messages to our audience just yet, which we will further explain in this presentation, but summer session will, our group operated on these two messages during our research. And it involves in that CSSA benefits everyone that is affiliated with CSUs, and including students, teachers, and administrative faculty. And that we must show why and how CSSA and SIRF benefits everyone affiliated with CSU. And I'm going to go ahead to pass it on to Gary. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Nicole. So for our strategy, we wanted to cover a few areas. Firstly, we wanted to gather information from CSU administrative staff. We wanted to see who was in charge of the fee and how they were influencing the opt-out rate, or if they were influencing the opt-out rate. Secondly, we were gathering opinions and information from CSU students themselves. We wanted to see what their knowledge of the SIRF fee was, and we also wanted to see what the best way to get in touch and reach CSU students would be. And the third part of that is going to be initiating a small-scale awareness campaign, and this is to inform the public about the CSSA and the SIRF fee, get people more aware of what's going on there. And so for our tactics, we are going to do this several ways. We're going to start by calling and emailing. We started by calling and emailing CSU administrative offices and seeing who's in charge of the fee, who knows about it, who do you call if you want to see what's going on. We also logged all interactions of those calls on an Excel sheet. Nextly, we researched how CSU campuses display the SIRF fee on their website. We also gathered all that information in screenshots and compiled all that in a nice document. We also created a survey to gather information from CSU students about the SIRF fee. We wanted to learn what CSU students initially knew about the SIRF fee or what they didn't know. And lastly, we took all that data, analyzed it, and came to a satisfying conclusion. So we had 3 campaign goals. Firstly, we wanted to research and identify which administrative department was in charge of administering the SIRF fee. And this is to find out who's in charge, see how they're affecting the SIRF fee, and if you had to ask questions about the SIRF fee, this is who you would call. Secondly, we wanted to research and identify common trends between the CSU campuses, between higher opt-out rates and lower opt-out rates. We wanted to see which colleges are doing good at getting low opt-out rates and which colleges are maybe not doing the right thing when it comes to achieving a lower opt-out rate. And our third goal would be to identify facts and stories that would positively influence a CSU student to support the SIRF fee. This is to go along with giving value to a CSU student when they think about CSSA, make them want to support the CSSA and have a reason not to opt out of the fee. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Christian. He's going to walk us through resources and calendar.
Thank you, Gary. So resources and calendar, starting with resources. So all of us have jobs outside of our coursework, meaning that we all have experience working on a team, which was helpful. And seeing that we were unable to meet in person this semester, our team utilized Google Drive, slides, docs, and sheets in order to help us share ideas and to work on our campaign. We used Adobe After Effects to create visuals and Function Fox to log both our billable and non-hours. Zoom turned out to be the most effective tool for communication, and Qualtrics made it easy for us to create a survey. We also relied heavily on both telephone and email responses from the registrar office, ASI, and financial aid office at each CSU campus in order to carry out our research. Moving on to the timeline. So we made a few changes to our original proposal because we decided that research should be our #1 priority. During the first few weeks, we brainstormed ideas and created goals for our campaign. Next, we broke out into teams and began conducting our research, which became our main focus throughout the campaign. And when we returned from spring break, we created a survey and focused on distributing it to as many CSU students as possible. Then we searched for trends within our findings and created social media posts for the students in the summer who will take over. And lastly, we analyzed our data and finalized our final campaign book. Now I'll pass it on to David, who will dive into what we discovered.
Thanks, Christian. So I'm going to be going over the campaign outcomes. We found a lot of valuable information. First, in regards to finding which department was in charge of administering the SIRF fee, there was not a lot of consistency among the 23 CSU campuses, but we narrowed it down and really narrowed it down towards the Student Financial Services Department. From what we were told and from the information that we gathered, they are the department that administers the fees to student tuitions. Now, amongst the Student Financial Services Department, there's not a lot of awareness and knowledge on the SIRF fee itself. So we think that it's important that the Student Financial Services Department is aware and educated on the SIRF fee so that that information can trickle down to the students that they serve. Moving on to goal #2, in terms of the common trends between CSU campuses, in terms of the student poll display, you can see a screenshot of one down there. That's actually the Cal State Fullerton student poll display. There's usually an information button, which will take you to a page that has a brief summary about what SIRF is. And there's an opt-out button. When you click the opt-out button, it'll take you to another page that gives you a drop-down menu of options as to why you're opting out of the fee. Hopefully CSSA is getting this information in terms of why, when people opt out and the reason for choosing opting out. If not, it's important to get in touch with the Student Financial Services Department to get that information. That's just really valuable information to gather. For Cal State Los Angeles, we got in touch with an official there, and we actually found out that they send a mass email to their students on how to opt out of the SIRF fee. For Long Beach, San Diego State, and San Francisco State, we got in touch with officials there as well, and they neither encourage or discourage the opt-out. But one thing that we did find consistently amongst all the campuses is that in terms of finding the SIRF fee on their websites, it's actually really hard to. It's not really out there for you to just click and see. We actually had to search in the search bar for SIRF. And what we found is that a majority of the time, there's very little information on the SIRF fee itself. Some campuses like Cal State Fullerton has its own page dedicated to SIRF. It even includes a video, but for the most part, at least 20 of the campuses, the SIRF fee is in between a bunch of all the other fees, and it's just explained literally in just one sentence. What we also found is that a lot of these campus websites have extensive information on how to opt out of the SIRF fee. And it even goes as far as having these separate documents, PDF documents, that have step-by-step instructions on how to opt out in that specific portal, as well as information, graphics and visuals on how to do that. So although a lot of campuses are neither encouraging or discouraging the opt-outs directly themselves, the lack of information on SIRF, as well as the abundance of information on how to opt out, suggests otherwise. They're kind of doing it inadvertently. So for goal #3, we wanted to identify some facts and run a small awareness campaign, and we did that with the help of the agency social media team. They did a great job in helping us out. We had a series of 5 posts, and the first post was basically introducing CSSA and its student leaders. The next two posts were some legislations that are currently being discussed. The first one is AB 940, which is a college mental health services program, which CSSA is in support of. AB 53 is an election day holiday, which is still up in the air, but it's pretty relevant to students, so we wanted to share that. And then lastly, we wanted to tell them about the SIRF fee and encourage them to support the SIRF fee. Our reasoning behind this was we didn't want to just throw out the SIRF fee and be like, hey, this is a good, you should support it. We wanted to first let the students know what CSSA does for them and then encourage them. So Connor is going to share some interesting information that we found from our survey.
Thank you, David. And yes, here are some of the questions and results we got from our survey. So this question asked what was the best way for schools to get in contact with their campus. The majority voted towards email, while very little actually said that they used this campus newspaper, which actually surprised us because we all believed that the newspaper was going to have a bigger vote than it did. And then for this question, how many times on average do you check your email each week? The majority voted that they checked 15 plus times a week. And for this question, which CSU related social media account do you follow? And the majority voted for Instagram. Now I'm going to switch over to Juliana to talk about the rest.
Thanks, Connor. So we thought it was important to point out some interesting feedback we received from students showing interest and curiosity about the $2 SIRF fee. So one of the comments we received is $2 seems affordable, but I'm curious, it's not clear from your information offered what the $2 fund is exactly. What's the budget for the program, and does it have a university representative? Are we paying the student representative, or is the fee for that person directly to the student? So basically, these were just important points that we figured we need to address. And I'll pass it on to David.
Yeah, so for CSA going on forward, we really recommend that CSSA educate the Student Financial Services Department. Perhaps they can do that through a lunch and learn where they provide lunch and host a webinar for the department, or maybe they can just get in contact with the department leaders and host a meeting. Also, we hope that they can outreach through email, because our research does show that email is their main source for CSU students to gather information. If they could get in touch with departments, I'm not sure exactly how the CSSA works. Perhaps they have access to the mass email that they could just send out, and hopefully send out a email campaign to try to raise more awareness. In terms of outreach, we suggest, since students are returning to campus next semester, we suggest that they host some outreach events in person. Perhaps on the first week of school, there's usually those tents that set up with clubs. We suggest that CSSA have their own tent, and their main goal for this would be engaging with the students, because at the end of the day, CSSA represents the students, and we want CSSA and the students to feel like they're included in CSSA's operations. So we suggest that at these events, or even through social media, that they provide some legislations that CSSA is considering, and have the students share their thoughts and opinions. Maybe they could have some incentives to encourage them to do so, right, by writing some things down and getting like a little snack or something. And hopefully CSSA can gather all that information, take it into consideration when they have their meetings, and also show the students that their thoughts and opinions matter by documenting what's going on, maybe having like a board of all the thoughts and opinions that they got from the students and showing it being presented at a meeting. So going on, we have suggestions for the summer campaign since they will be taking over. We really want them to focus on social media awareness and trying out this whole engagement strategy on a smaller scale through social media. So Juliana's going to get us started with the first suggestion.
Thanks, David. So our first suggestion is to decipher key messages that will really resonate with the CSU students. We want to garner a sense of community and support for the CSSA SIRF, inform students on what exactly the $2 SIRF fee funds, since there's still a little ambiguity regarding this topic and students don't fully understand what the money actually funds for them directly. And it's important to be transparent with the CSU students in order to build trust.
So for the second goal, or second suggestion, we want the CSU students to have a voice, like I mentioned before. We're going to recommend that the summer campaign find legislations that are under consideration and that are relevant and that they think will garner interest and engagement for the CSU students. And they can create these posts, get these posts onto social media to try and encourage the students to get their thoughts and opinions. And next slide, please. So obviously we want them to be creating all the visuals and the captions for these posts as well. They can discuss further with CSSA whether CSSA is comfortable with them posting on their social media. We also think it would be extremely effective for them to get these posts posted onto other CSU related social media accounts, just to have farther reach and engagement. I know our surveys show that this campus run newspaper is not a good way to get in contact, but it did show that social media was one of the better ways to get in contact with them. And most campus student run newspapers have their own social media accounts. For example, Cal State Fullerton has a Daily Titan. They have a really wide reach, almost 80,000 impressions per week, and they have a large following. So if they can get in contact with them, they would already have those posts created and they can get them real easily posted. I also suggest that they partner with the agency social media team because they did a great job helping us out. And after the initial posts, we suggest that they analyze the messages and the posts that are getting the best engagement and repeat these strategies. And then at the end, analyze all the data, compile it, and present it to CSSA to see if this campaign is worth repeating again. So that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you everybody for listening. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a little roadmap. It encompasses the same things that I just said before, but we also included it in the final campaign book for CSSA and also the summer team to review. And yeah, now that brings us to the end of our campaign presentation. Thank you everybody, and I'll open this up for any questions.